Hey folks, Red Labor here. Hope you're doing well. I want to talk about dependency. Yeah, I hear this year after year by the people on the right, whether they're mainstream conservative Republicans or libertarians or crony capitalists, corporatist types, teabaggers, talk radio blowhards. The same old talking point, dependency. Well, you liberals want to have dependency, make people dependent on government. Or it'll be like, you want to just go and create a dependency class to ensure your power base, as if the right have no interest in obtaining political power. Well, there's a flaw to the argument dependency. No person within their right state of mind, or left state of mind for that matter, nobody in their stable, correct state of mind wants to make anybody dependent. But here's the thing. People who are on the left, whether you want to call yourself a liberal or a progressive, or a socialist for that matter, or a social democrat, when you have public services, those public services, the ones where you use taxpayer funds to create an institution to help those in need, you're not doing it to keep people dependent on it. The hope, or at least the way I would view a public service, is you use it if you need it. Use it if you need it with the purpose of making you, a productive member of society again. Take for example, something like medical care for all. It's not that I don't favor medical care because I want the government to control lives of people. Is that our medical system, our market-based medical system, is so fucked up with insurance companies causing a lot of trouble between doctors and patients that you have to have a public insurance system or make medical care in some way a public service so people can get the health care they need at the lowest amount of cost so they can get well and go on with their day-to-day life. I don't want the government to take over medical care to control your diet or to control your behavior. I just want it to be a public service for people. A public service that guarantees medical care for people, help businesses by alleviating the cost, getting rid of the main cost, the main source of high labor costs in this country, which is private health insurance. So by having a public insurance system, it's not so much you're creating a dependency. You're using an institution to make life better for people. It's sort of like the highway. No person in their right mind wants to privatize roads. And if you want to get from one point to another, a public road helps in that regard. It's probably one of the greatest assets to a capitalist system. And I will argue that socialized medicine or universal health care done correctly would be a great asset to a free market system. Just as a public library is. I know I'm going to hear hell about the public schools, but overall, public schools serve its basic purpose and people are getting educated. We can argue the details later on and ask the cause to what, the problems in the public schools and what have you. But still, as far as I'm concerned, schools are doing what they're supposed to do, and that is to educate children. Is a good thing. The Postal Service is there to deliver mail, and the U.S. Postal Service do it more efficiently than FedEx or UPS. as far as dependency or whatever, food stamps, I'm not particularly crazy about food stamps. But here's the thing. I mean, I think that having programs of public assistance should be there to get people back on their feet so they don't have to rely on such things as food stamps and that sort of thing. And I think that the best cure for welfare and the best form of welfare is workfare for most people. And Franklin Roosevelt had some good ideas with the Work Progress Administration and the Civil Conservation Corps. And when these public works programs went and helped improve and modernize infrastructure, and it creates a long-term foundation for prosperity. This is not about trying to have everybody on some food stamps and public assistance. I mean, and to just make society stand still. I mean, that'll just. I mean, if you put on everybody on welfare, like the conservatives claim all liberals want to do, I mean, I'm sure that most people on the left do not want society to go into a standstill. So, I mean, this whole talk about dependency doesn't wash with me. I mean, I'm not for so-called big government just for the sake of loving the state. And it's really hypocritical, dependency, I mean, there's a whole lot of social engineering that goes on within the conservative movement. And if I dare say, they want to go and force religion on people, there you go, trying to go slam on Christians. Even though I'm a Christian myself, and I don't think that conservatives, here's a newsflash, nobody stops me from going to Mass every week, okay? I mean, so, but, this whole notion that, social engineering, wanting to make sure the government, you make sure who you can marry, who you can't, or what a woman would do with her own body to prevent a pregnancy, an unwanted pregnancy. Can't have contraceptions. I mean, that sort of thing. And some of these people want to ban contraceptions. They want to use the cloak of big government to make sure women don't have contraceptions. And if a woman like Sandra Fluke says something about it, there you go again. You think the government ought to just supply you contraceptions and force churches? That's sort of bullshit. The lies that are being perpetuated by many on the right. This whole notion of this gay marriage. I tell people when it comes to the whole gay marriage thing, as an ugly straight man myself, and God knows anybody looking at the screen knows I'm butt ugly. Why the fuck would I care if two men down the street or two women down the street marry each other? I mean, really? I don't think a religious institution ought to be forced to recognize something they don't agree with on biblical moral grounds. I mean, in that regard, I would defend the right of a church to not recognize a same-sex marriage if they don't want to. But at the same time, it is not in people's place to stop two loving people from marrying each other. Granted that the two people who are marrying each other are consenting adults. So, dependency and social engineering and political correctness and all of this, the right seems to be guilty of this. I mean, there's not a corporate welfare bill that the right doesn't like. Oh yeah, healthcare reform, but I have a conspiracy theory about that. If Mitt Romney wins, you're not going to see Obamacare disappear. So those of you on the left that believes in Obama and thinks that Barack Obama's healthcare package is just the end-all, you're not going to have to worry about it because the right wing invented this healthcare reform, tricked the Democrats into championing it, and I have a whole conspiracy theory as to why they did this. But if Mitt Romney gets into the White House and gets sworn in January and has a relatively comfortable supermajority of Republicans in both houses, I bet you that you will not see the disappearance of this particular health care reform passed a couple of years ago. So anyway, folks, it's getting kind of late, and I want you to comment on what I have to say. Y'all take care. Have a great evening.